sinners, and saints. Dust off those horns and halos. It's time for Alan After Dark.
Hello, all my ass muffins. How you doing? How are you feeling? Are you feeling sexy? Are you horny? I hope you are if you want to be. I could be horny. I could be dead. I'm not sure. I had a glance at myself in the mirror this morning and almost had a heart attack. My God, I couldn't believe what was staring back at me. It was frightening. The moment you realize that you're old, and in this community, the gay community, you're old at age 29 apparently. So it really does hurt when you realize that in your own community you're over the hill or under the bed or on somebody's dick. I don't know. What am I talking about? Jesus. Who knows? I guess you could say that I look like I was rode hard and put up wet, even though I've got dry skin right now. Jesus. Speaking of which, I would like to offer an apology to one of my good friends, Robbie, for sending him that Snapchat of my armpit.
Oh my God.
Yes, I'm sure you could smell that from all the way across town. It was an accident. I really did mean to send it to someone else, although I'm not sure who. Look what happens when you're drinking and Snapchatting. Dangerous combination. You know that old saying that people sometimes use about acting your age? And I've told you all the story that time of that young guy who told me that I should act my age. And I said to him, what would you know about being my age and how to act, you tadpole? You know, it still amazes me that people will have requirements of you when you turn a certain age. Why is that? Why do they give a rat's ass how you behave? If I'm paying my bills and taking care of myself, who the fuck are you to judge me on any way, shape, or form on how I behave? Am I really hurting anybody if I behave like what they deem to be a young person? So I go out on the weekends and party it up and have a good time. There is no age limit on that, is there? Now, granted, age sometimes will dictate to you how you should act. You don't see me turning cartwheels down the street anymore, now do you? And I am very much more hesitant to take my clothes off in public like I used to when I was a kid. When I was in my 20s. It's almost like there are people that they want to drive home that point of like, you're old. And that at certain points in your life, you have to give up other things. I don't give up those things because I think that at a certain age, I shouldn't do that anymore. I've given up things because I'm just not able to do it anymore. It really does feel like people in general think that you reach a certain milestone and that your life should change because of that. Instead of celebrating that you've reached a certain age, they almost want to punish you for it. It's the kind of shitty thing that life would do to us, isn't it? Imagine being Madonna and, oh, sinners and saints, I am all about confessions too. I am here for the new Madonna era. But every time she goes out on a stage or appears somewhere, half the critics criticize how she's dressed because she's not dressing her age. And it's just got to be, well, for Madonna, she doesn't give a rat's ass. I mean, that just boosts the controversy around her. But goddamn, it's like, why do you give a fuck? It really does seem like a petty thing to judge people over how they behave. Now, all of us get out of control sometimes. But when they say I should act my age, that I'm acting like a 20-year-old, well, what does a fucking 20-year-old act like? Like a spoiled brat or something? I don't know. I mean, my God, isn't there enough in the world to really worry about versus worrying about whether or not I'm wearing shoes that are too young for me? Maybe I shouldn't wear a baseball cap and a tank top. I mean, Jesus, just take me out and beat me and crucify me on a cross. Lord have mercy. And even if I do dress young for my age, I don't have blinders on. I'm not doing it thinking that I'm going to attract a hot muscle stud who goes to the gym 3 times a day, 7 days a week. I know that. I'm doing it just to express myself. I guess that leaves me open to the question, then are you saying that there are people that should dress a certain way? And my answer would be no, you dress however you want to, but what are your expectations from that? I think that's the difference. And there's a comedian who talked about being proud of yourself, and she referenced a woman with buck teeth. And she said, honey, I promise you, there is a man out there that's looking for a woman who could chew an apple through a picket fence. And I believe that too. But I can be critical of myself as well. And I have done that. Self-deprecation, that kind of thing. I was getting the car serviced, and Stephen, bless his heart, had colored my beard the day before, and it looked fabulous. And the service technician, when I got out of the car, we were going over everything, and he said, I beg your pardon, but your beard, is that your real color? And I just said, no, sir, this is my latest midlife crisis. I guess some people would say that I was body shaming myself, wasn't I? But no, I think you can approach everything with a sense of humor, and it's a lot more sexy to approach it that way. When somebody tries to insult you in a joke, in a loving way, I guess.
Wait, what?
I guess I don't mean a joke. I guess I'm talking about when someone is throwing shade or teasing you, like good friends can do. Something like that. Roll with it. You take away their thunder when you don't allow them to see that their joking insult got to you. Laugh right with them. And if they're really a good friend, you know when they're joking and when they're not. And if they're not a friend, why would you care anyway? I have to respect your opinion to either laugh or be insulted, And honestly, is there anyone more pathetic than someone that can't take a joke? You know who I'm talking about. And as for myself, I can tell a joke about myself anytime I want to and not consider it body shaming. Like, for example, I don't really have to watch a horror movie on a streaming service. I can just stare at myself in the mirror and be horrified for an hour and a half. I thought that was funny. I didn't find it insulting at all. And I do want to say this as I'm sitting here in the early morning hours in the quiet of night, thinking about the world. Just because I believe that we need to laugh more doesn't mean that any of us have forgotten or are pretending we don't know what's going on, because we do. It's just that there's so much heaviness in the world that I think a lot of us feel the need to try to entertain people, take their minds off their troubles for just a few minutes a week, It is fucking hard out there in the real world. I'll be honest, I don't recall gas prices ever being this high in Tennessee. Maybe I'm wrong, but I can't remember it. And there are signs of shortages again. Certain produce that I used to purchase every week, some of the items are not there. Just the other day, it was tomatoes, but maybe it's just because they're having trouble getting them moved from place to place and getting them on the shelves. But still, it's that kind of trouble that I could talk about every week. And there may come a time when we have to talk about it every week. We may become Radio Free America, for all I know, in the near future. But it's also really nice to talk about dick every week, too. Don't you agree? I think you do. Alex, get the shots ready. Jesus, it's going to be a bumpy, bumpy night. Speaking of dick, a recent episode of Will Trent, Ramon Rodriguez was wearing jeans. And let me just tell you something. That man should always be in jeans. Holy shitballs. What a beautiful ass. A beautiful front. His legs looked amazing in those dark jeans. So please, ABC and the Will Trent producers, please put Ramon in jeans more often. Thank you. I swear Ramon could have me moaning all day and all night long. Oh, hello. You know what? I need to bring it up again. I saw some quote-unquote new pics of Henry Cavill on the internet, and immediately I recognized them as AI. They were not genuine. If we need to create fake pictures of someone like Henry Cavill, who is probably the most beautiful man on this planet. What hope do the rest of us have? Henry Cavill, you don't need to create fake pictures of him, AI or Chat GBT, whatever the fucking shit's called. Why? It's just so aggravating to me to see all these fake pics and stuff of celebrities. And I know they've been around way before AI and CGI and all that shit. They were clearly, you could tell that they were totally bogus, cut and paste and all that kind of shit. But seriously, people, seriously, you really think that you can improve on perfection? And the answer is, you can't. Jesus, God, people, learn a lesson. I hate AI, which is artificial intelligence, if I did not enunciate correctly. I should let you all know that one of my crushes, he once again shaved off his beard and mustache. And I get it. He doesn't seem to be comfortable having gray hair. And he seems to have forgotten our conversation. Obviously, I color my beard, and I suggested that he could do the same if he wanted to keep his beard and not have it be gray. But he looks good either way. I do think he looks a little bit more manly with the beard and mustache, but, that's a personal preference. Talking about Henry Cavill and Ramon Rodriguez has got me all horny, and it makes me want to take a trip back in time to when I was horny all the time. So, you know what? Let's do that. Let's take a trip back in time to my horniest days that just happened to be my high school years. When I think about it, the primary reason that I was so horny all the time is because I was gay and I couldn't express myself. I couldn't connect with other guys out of fear of what could happen to me. So my horniness evolved from looking at the other boys in school. During PE, especially in the locker room where we changed into our shorts and shirts. I think the first real turn on for me was one of my teachers. And let me just remind everybody that the names are changed to protect the guilty, the innocent, and the satisfied. So we'll call him Mr. Adcock. And pun is intended there, I guess you could say. But he was the one, he taught science and biology, but he was also the baseball coach. And he eventually became vice principal and perhaps even principal years after I'd left high school. His desk was a lab table. And usually when he was lecturing, he would sit on top of the lab table. And he had a man spread, but he was always adjusting his dick through his pants. I guess he wore boxers and his dick was always not in the right place. And he played with that thing and wriggled it around every time he was sitting up there. And it was an absolute fucking turn on for me. And if you go back to the original first episodes of Alan After Dark, where I talk about him, you'll know that I did masturbate while watching him in the classroom. To this day, I wonder if other people noticed what I was doing or I really was that good at doing it. I think I was really that good at doing it. Now, I don't know what my mother would have to say about sticky underwear, but, that's all water under the bridge. He always wore khaki pants and a button-up shirt, and he had dark brown hair, a mustache, and he had more of a reddish brown complexion, and that was from all the years of being the baseball coach. He was a very sexy man. He really was. And he was sometimes an asshole, but I really liked him as a teacher and as my first male teacher crush, really. Not in love with him, in lust with him. And with him pawing at his dick every day in class, it was almost impossible not for me to want to touch myself while watching him. I mentioned it before too. I think that if a teacher did today what he was doing, that he would be fired and possibly prosecuted for sexual harassment. I mean, he is touching the sex organ through his pants in front of everybody, and he might consider it absent-minded or something, but he was doing it. There were no shortages of bullies when I was in high school, and just guys who were downright assholes. One of them, who, for whatever reason, he despised me. I really don't understand why, other than I think he might have sensed that I was gay, and perhaps he was too. I don't know for sure. Even to this day, I don't know. But let's call him Brian. Now, Brian was a little bit taller than me, and he had a sandy blonde hair. He was cute in his own way. He was just a douchebag, asshole, prick. But the thing about him, we were in English class together for a few years, and I think we were in like a business class. And in the English class, our teacher would have their desk at the front of the classroom, and they would create rows of desks. Like they would go 3 desks per row, and they would go side by side, forming virtually a U with her desk at the very top of the U, if that makes any sense. So Brian was on the opposite side of me. I was on the front desk of my row, and he was on the third desk against the wall. And I could see him at an angle. He was 1 row over from me, and I could see straight toward him. And that meant seeing him from head to toe. Now, in class, I was mesmerized by him quite often because he had a habit of sliding deep into his desk and putting his hand down his pants and playing with his dick and his balls. I don't know if he ever noticed me watching him do that because I didn't make it very obvious. I was being very subtle with my movement of my eyes, and I could have my head facing the teacher as she was speaking and my eyes be turned to look at him. And I was always just turned on by that. It's just my fetish. Guys who play with their dicks. I know that he really, I was going to say I thought that he might be gay, and when he was sort of like flirting with a girl, that it was a way to distract people or make people believe the opposite of who he really was. Not sure about that, but many a nights at home I would jack off thinking about him with his hand down in his pants and his underwear in English class. The guy in our senior year who was voted most handsome, we'll call him Rod. I had the hots for him from the first time I saw him, and he didn't even know that I existed. We didn't come to know each other till senior year. He was on the newspaper staff, and I was on the yearbook staff, and we actually became friends. Now, he truly was the most handsome boy in our class. Jet black hair, thick eyebrows, facial hair. He could do a 5 o'clock shadow, and he had a mustache. His face, that strong nose and the strong forehead and those deep eyes and those beautiful lips. And he had a hairy chest as well. He also had 3 brothers that were almost as beautiful as he was. And in my senior year, I could say that I was in love with him. I rode around with him in his car a few times. We had to do errands for both the yearbook staff and the newspaper staff. And since he drove a car, he always would ask me to go with him. And he's the one who turned me on to the band Romeo Void. But he, on occasion, would play with himself, and it would tear me up. I would just be ready to pounce on him and just give him the pleasure that he deserved. You know, I can't let this pass without talking about Mike, who always had his hands on his dick, no matter where he was, church, school, wherever. The horniest memory I have of him is in the locker room in the gym. Almost all of us wore tighty-whities. There were a couple of boys who wore boxers, but most of us had on tighty-whities. That was heaven for me, watching all these hot boys taking off their clothes down to their tighty-whities and putting on their shorts and t-shirts. But this one day, Mike, he always dressed in the same spot, standing there, but for whatever reason, he was adjusting his dick through his underwear, and he was basically jacking himself off right in front of us. Now, I don't believe he finished, but I was like, Jesus Christ. And I was sporting a Woody from the very minute he started. And I'm just like, God, cover it up, try to hide it. And I was pretty good at hiding my erections too. Well, I could go on and on and on. There were several other guys. I could mention Bobby, and I could mention one of the football coaches. Actually, 2 of the football coaches. But I wonder about the guys today, and if they lie about their age and all that and get on Grindr and Growler. Do they cruise their own high schools for other guys? I wonder if I would have done that if we had such things back when I was in high school. That's an intriguing notion. If the rule of being on the down low would work in high school the way it works in the real world. If I would have been a kid now in high school, would I have tried to use the hookup apps, lie about my age, of course, and try to find other guys that are in my high school who might want their dick sucked? To be honest, which is probably a no-brainer, the answer would be yes. If I was in high school now, I would lie about my age, get on the hookup apps just to see if I could find a high school classmate who wanted their dick sucked. Just saying. Whew, I can't believe it, but here we are again at the end of another episode of Alan After Dark. Time really does fly when I'm just randomly saying bullshit, doesn't it? But I've had a lot of fun this week, and I hope you have too. And I can't wait to talk to you next week and see what you're all up to. Tell your significant other hi. Tell them that I asked how they were doing. And until next time, always remember, take life by the balls and be real. We'll see you soon.